and welcome to the Rusa podcast. So today we have the Bibek Koirala, and we will be talking about the DeFi and crypto stocks, NFTs, and all that. So yeah, hi Bibek, how are you?
Yeah, hi Isa. I'm good. How about you?
Yes, I'm also good. So
Okay.
yeah, let's directly dive into the topics. And
Yeah.
let's begin it with the DeFi, the term DeFi. What
Yeah.
do you understand by the DeFi?
Okay. So DeFi is basically decentralized finance, right? So there are different financial services that we can take from the institutions, like banks. For example, like we can convert our cashes and we can take loans and a lot of other stuffs, right? So all those services, if they are running in a decentralized platform where no any single institution owns it and it is run by the community, then that is basically decentralized finance. Uh, so this word came into hype after the DeFi applications started being built on blockchain. And the reason why blockchain assists to DeFi is because if we run those services in any centralized server, then one institution must always support that application, right? And uh, the trust again relies on some certain organization, but with blockchains and smart contracts now, a certain team or certain community could build these financial services, deploy it on blockchain, which is running on a decentralized platform and can be trusted by anyone, because that is some lines of code. And basically, mm, now the decentralized finance enables trustless ecosystem where you need not to trust any institution, but you can just look at the code and see the code and then trust those lines of code and get the financial services, like taking loans, or maybe swapping your crypto, or maybe like doing some yield farming through that or something like that. Yeah, so that is DeFi.
To the term called the DeFi 1.0 and the DeFi 2.0. So, what
Yeah.
is the main difference between that? Yeah.
Okay. So DeFi 1.0 is basically the first set of services that came to DeFi, right? So those were mostly for this liquidity mining, AMMs, lending, borrowing, and all those features, right? So now, uh, as the DeFi industry is growing, now there are some certain features that are coming along, and that is being said as DeFi 2.0. And some of those examples are like convex finance and all that. So now what DeFi 2.0 is doing is they are solving some of these liquidity and user experience and all these kind of problems. So it is basically one upgraded version of DeFi 1.0 that aims at solving the problems that previous DeFi products had. For example, for there was quite a bit of problem in liquidity side of things, right? And also very less number of users were attracted by this DeFi because it seemed to be quite complex. So now they are trying to go into the mass adoption with DeFi, and that is what DeFi 2.0 is all about.
And you have talked about liquidity, right? So, can
Yeah.
you elaborate more about the liquidity and the staking on DeFi?
Okay. So liquidity is basically, so if you can, uh, uh, so there are like different kind of asset, right? So one is like liquid asset. For example, if you can readily get cash or readily use that asset, then that is a liquid asset. For example, if you have maybe some certain token that you cannot convert into any other token, or you cannot get a cash out of it or something like that, then it is not liquid. That means that even if you have that token and even if people say that it has certain value, if you can convert it, then there is no use of it, because it will just be a token that you cannot really use. So liquidity is basically a provision that you can convert that asset into other forms, right? So that is what liquidity is. And so in DeFi, how we use liquidity is there are liquidity providers from the community who basically create a pool of different assets and provide those as liquidity, so that people can use those pools for converting their assets, or even much more, right? So those are called liquidity providers, and they provide fund in form of different assets to that particular platform, and that is what liquidity means in DeFi. And staking is basically whenever you get certain percent of interest for letting some platform or contract hold your assets, then that is called staking. So there are different layers of staking as well. So in layer one, uh, the staking is mostly used for consensus mechanism for the platforms who are using consensus as proof of stake. And there are also these DeFi applications that provide rewards for staking. um, most seen staking is for liquidity providers who can stake their LP tokens in certain contract and then get rewarded for providing the liquidity. And also there are some of the platforms that provide staking for their native tokens so that they can inflate their token into the market. So yeah, that is basically what staking is about.
Okay. And in the DeFi term, what are the assets? Assets, and you have talked about the consensus mechanism, right? So can you elaborate on what of the term?
Okay, uh, so yeah. So for consensus, right? So consensus mechanism is basically in any distributed system. If the nodes want to be in sync, or if they want to come on certain agreement, then that is called consensus. And there are different algorithms for reaching the consensus. Proof of work is one of them, which was introduced by Satoshi Nakamoto in Bitcoin. And so there is one other consensus mechanism called proof of stake, where the nodes which are running in the blockchain platform. So what they can do is they can stake certain amount of token for validating if the particular transaction or if a particular block is valid or not. And whenever and their voting power in that network is based upon how much of the stake they have in their node, right? So the more stake they have in that particular node, the more voting rights they get, and the more rewards also. Uh, so in this way, if there are some certain agreement in the platform, then it is called proof of stake. And um, so the beauty of proof of stake from proof of work is more energy consuming, and proof of stake is not. And also regarding security, proof of work is far more better. But considering that the people or the node need to stake a lot of their coins in the platform, so that they can have some voting right in the platform, then they already have staked some of the amount in the platform, right? And if they vote negatively to the platform, then the value of that particular token might go down, and the amount of token that they have staked, they will lose their money as well. So in this way, proof of stake is said to have some a certain level of security as well. So that is about proof of stake.
And what about the proof of history?
Proof of history is basically introduced by Solana blockchain, and in our original thought process, what was there was, we cannot create any digital clock in any distributed system which is always in sync. So uh, so that was the first assumption that we did with that we did with building out previous consensus mechanisms like proof of work or proof of stake or so on, right? So proof of stake, what it does is it creates a like uh, digital clock or digital timeline for that particular blockchain. I think a group of people researched about some algorithm that helps us to like generate um, uh, I forgot the term actually, but yeah. Uh, so we can just verify that any information or any transaction took place before other transaction, and basically get the timeline of the transactions that happened in that blockchain, right? So by doing that, now we are able to like make the transactions process more faster. There is of course some certain level of centralization introduced to the proof of history, but it is supposed to have more scalability and more throughput than any other consensus mechanism, and that is why Solana blockchain is booming right now, because it seems to have uh, some new kind of algorithm that basically maintains a digital clock in a distributed system. So that is about proof of history.
Are the, I mean, platforms that you are inspired of in the DeFi?
I think like the one of the platform that I'm uh, really looking forward on how it will grow in DeFi is Jelica, because Jelica has this built-in security enabled, and what that means is whenever we build smart contracts in Sila, which is the smart contract language in Jelica, then the smart contracts are much more safer and much more secure than what we build using Solidity or any other programming languages, right? So I'm quite keen to see like how will the DeFi community progress in Zilliqa. As of now, they are doing some work on like they have this a DEX called ZilSwap, which is doing fantastic work out there, and there are all the other platforms like Pilar, and also new platforms are coming in like the Carbon is building their cap swap, and xcat is also working on decentralized exchange. So yeah, I am quite looking forward for Zilliqa in DeFi space.
Talk about a smart contract and Zilliqa programming language, right? I mean, I have only heard about the Solidity programming language for coding the smart contract. So
Yeah.
I'm curious about is there any? I mean, is there lots of the programming language for I mean for coding the smart contract?
Yeah, so it basically depends upon what the platform chose it to be, right? So, like, there are a lot of programming languages that we can use for writing smart contracts. For example, like if we go to Solana, then we can use Rust there, and if we come to Zilka, then we can use Sila, which is more similar to OCaml. And there is, of course, Solidity, and I think Icon platform was using Python language for smart contract, and so yeah, we can have variety of languages for smart contracts and different platforms.
Mhm. And now let's talk about the platforms like Aave and then after uh, Uniswap and the SushiSwap. So what do you think about those platforms?
Yeah, so I think those platforms played a significant role in like um, for the adoption of DeFi in the blockchain space. So Uniswap brought this decentralized exchange for the first time, and uh, using constant market maker formula. And right, even today, Uniswap is a big giant in DeFi space, and but it is run in Ethereum, and we can use it for like swapping or providing liquidity or stuff like that. So yeah, Uniswap was a leader, and is also right now contributing a lot to the DeFi space with this version 3 coming in. And so Next platform is SushiSwap. So what happened is like Uniswap was built, and Safe Naomi, one anonymous developer, developed this platform called SushiSwap and used the LP tokens of Uniswap to reward them and use those LP tokens for farming and stuff like that. And it basically gave more higher yield than what Uniswap was offering, and so a lot of people got dive into SushiSwap, and SushiSwap created a boom in the market using its algorithm. And even today, SushiSwap is running pretty smoothly, and now we can see bridged assets and stuff like that in SushiSwap as well. In middle, I think Safe Noami left the platform, and the community was highly discouraged. But it's great to know that Safe Noami is back in SushiSwap and is contributing to its development. Yeah, SushiSwap is also like nicest platform that offered higher yield and attracted a lot of users to the DeFi space for increasing the assets. And um, so Aave actually Aave started its journey from ICO in 2017, and it emerged as this lending and borrowing platform. And what I like to say about Aave is like it is a decentralized bank where we can like do everything. So you can put the collateral, you can get the loan out of it, you can basically provide the liquidity and get rewarded for that. You can stake your assets or anything that you can do in bank, right? So yeah, so I think these platforms have really made us really made us like wonder how the future might look like with decentralized finance, and people not really having to go through all those documents and all this process of banks, and just getting to use the financial services by using their computers and wallet, right? So yeah, I think it is quite fascinating.
You have talked about the collaterals in the Aave platform. So, can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by the collaterals, and how the people can take the benefit of those platforms?
Yeah, so collateral is basically what we do in banks as well, right? So whenever we have to like take certain loans from the bank, then we put some the collateral, maybe may that be the land or maybe a house or something that we can put as collateral. And the bank gives us loan by determining the risks, and also like saying that if the collateral will be able to like manage that loss if the person doesn't really pay back the loan, right? So that is collateral. And in Aave too, we can put certain collateral so that the Aave can lend us loan. And it is also like similar to bank, we need to put higher the amount of uh, collateral to get some loans. And we can put certain collateral in the form of crypto and get get the fund or the loan that we need. And we can use that loan, we can play around, we can provide liquidity, or maybe we can use it for farming or anything else. And after we are done, and if we feel like we want to return that loan and the interest that the platform has generated, so that we can get our collateral back, then we can repay that interest. Or if we feel that whatever whatever we get from that collateral is much more less than what we have right now, then we can just leave the collateral in the Aave platform. The Aave will liquidate that collateral and send it back to the pool itself. And so that is what collateral is about in lending and borrowing platforms.
And what are the platforms for the lending and borrowing? Is this
There are
same?
there are a lot of platforms. Yeah, Aave is also a lending and borrowing platform. and and there is a platform called Pillar in Angelica that we can use for lending or borrowing. There is a platform called Balance Now in Icon that you can use for lending or borrowing. And there are a lot of platforms right now.
And if the the person who doesn't have any crypto holding on their MetaMask can lend the money first without putting any crypto?
No, you need to have certain collateral, right, for borrowing the money or even the lending the money to the platform.
Elaborate the process of the lending and borrowing, like giving the example.
Okay, so for example, there is ETH and USDC pool in Aave where you can like go to the Aave, connect it to your MetaMask, and if you have ETH in your wallet, then you can just basically put ETH as a collateral in our platform, and then what our platform will do is it will basically calculate the risks and give you a certain percent of that ETH in the form of loan in USDC, and then you can just exchange get that USDC as loan, and you will deposit the ETH to the Aave, and you will get the USDC. Now you can use that USDC that you got in the form of loan, and if you want to repay back the interest, then you can do that, or if you want to just use the USDC and leave the ETH in the market itself, then that is also fair.
DeFi applied for the decentralized marketplace.
So it is basically like how DeFi works, right? Decentralized marketplace is also a, a place where you can like put certain items and people can come in and buy, and it is being quite famous with NFTs coming in. And so I think like both are related because both of the things are happening through the smart contracts, and um, uh, so I think they are much more based upon the smart contract itself and run on a decentralized platform called blockchain. And yeah, that's all.
Okay, and next is the governance token. What about the governance token? What do you think about that?
So governance token is a token that is used in the community for taking certain decisions about how the community wants to proceed ahead, right? So whenever there are certain changes that needs to be done, or certain new features that the community wants to build, then there are platforms like Snapshot or Qvote or any other platform that where people can just come in, create proposals, forward it to the community votes using their governance token on how much governance tokens do they hold, and then the community comes to a certain decision of what needs to be done, and based upon that decision the community moves ahead. So that is governance token. And some of the examples of governance token are like, if you see yarn token, right? So it is a very powerful example of what a governance token must look like. And I think the valuation of yuan was somewhere near to the Bitcoin valuation as well. So yeah, that is pretty sick. And um, there is another platform. There is another token called Zezil in Zilliqa that is a protocol level governance token, and that we can use to take certain decisions on the protocols of a blockchain itself. And this quite encourages a blockchain platform to not just be a platform and become a decentralized autonomous organization, and like forward the power to the people for taking the decisions of the platform. Yeah.
The governance token is the token that people community in the community in the people hold it for making the decision, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and they have the power to take any kind of the decision based on the majority of the token holder.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is the importance of DEX?
Decentralized exchange, I think like in any centralized exchange or particular institution holds all those tokens liquidity, right? And those exchanges are quite centralized, and you need to rely upon those platforms like in Binance or Coinbase or something like that, right? And in DX, the it is basically run by the community itself. There are liquidity providers who come in and put the fund to the pool and get rewarded for that. And there are people who can just come in and use their wallet and play with your funds, right? And the difference is that in a centralized exchange, you need to show your all documents and you can't really run it as anonymous person. But in decentralized exchange, if you have the fund and if you have a wallet, then you can just go into the exchange and start using that exchange for maybe swapping your funds or like providing liquidity or a lot more, right? So yeah, that is what DEX is.
DAO mean, and how the DAO can utilize I mean, DEX and all this token. Can you give the example how the DAO works?
So DAO is basically as I said, decentralized autonomous organization. There are two kinds of DAO that I like to categorize into. So one is like code run. So what code run means is for the platforms like Polkadot, right? So whenever they need to come into certain decision or make the changes, then the people, then there are proposals. People just come in and vote, and based on the decision of the vote, the code itself makes those changes into the platform, and it is basically forkless. And so those kind of decisions are basically implemented by the code, and uh, there are other kind of DAOs who uses platform like Snapshot and everything, where people can come in and take decisions based upon the votes of the users again. And also, if we see right now, then a lot of people are going into DAO. But like if you see the platform community called Icon, then there are certain node providers. I think they call it PDEPs, and they can just decide on anything, maybe like whom to provide the fund for the development of the community, and a lot more, right? So, so it is basically an organization which is run by a lot of different decentralized organizations and not by a central one. And the way that they do is by voting into the proposals or and wherever the majority goes, that implementing those decisions in the community. Yeah.
Okay, DAO is the I mean like a organization or the company which is run by people, developers. And so, what is the main purpose of the DAO? How I mean, how it is different from the any of the company except like decentralization?
The main purpose of DAO is to bring the decentralization in every aspect, right? So in development, in coming to the decisions and everything. So yeah, the main difference is decentralization. And when there is decentralization, then um, so for example, if you are using certain platform called Facebook, and you don't have any rights to say about how the Facebook moves ahead, then you are not really the part of the community. But in DAO, if you are a user, if you hold their tokens, then you can take part in that decision, and that makes a whole lot of difference.
How DeFi and the NFT are contributing to the creator economy?
Yeah, so I think creator economy is a recent buzzword that is being around in blockchain, right? So all those artists and creators who want to make any digital content, then they can just come in and make those digital content and get rewarded for that in blockchain. And they can create NFTs, they can get royalties from that. The people can just come in and buy that in marketplace and stuff like that, right? And so there are platforms like XCAD, Recap, who are working on this, making this creator economy possible. And the way NFTs and DeFi do that is NFT creates a non-fungible asset that is rare in that ecosystem, and also creates a metaverse around that as well. And that has helped creators to get a much more higher valuation of their creation than that was in the real world, right? So for example, if they made an art and sold it in the real world, then um, those arts weren't quite sold at higher prices, and the real valuation was just limited to the locality they were around. But with NFTs coming in, it has a global reach, and now we can see that the art or the content that has been created by some creators are also being sold at maybe millions of dollars, and that is quite fascinating to see. And with DeFi as well, we have been working on this platform called Fuse, which basically aims at creating a NFT DX, where artists can use a DX to sell their tokens of their albums that they are going to release, and raise the funds from their for creating the albums, and later the royalties of the albums goes back to the community who are holding the tokens, and that is basically enabling artists to raise fund to make their albums. So yeah, uh, the blockchain ecosystem is helping artists or creators to even raise funds for creating, and that is quite fascinating to see. Yeah, so I think blockchain, NFT, and DeFi all have been playing a significant role for this immerse in creator economy.